Welcome back to Area DMG. I'm your host, Phil Bussey, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to go ahead and review episode 16. Of season 7 of Adventure Time. This episode is called Summer Showers. It starts out with a fairly lovely little dialogue from Viola, who is one of Jake's children, and she's voiced by, Paget Brewster, who you may know from Friends. She was in several episodes of Friends. Anywho, she's applying for, or rather auditioning for, a part in this play that's being written and directed by Lumpy Space Princess. She doesn't get the part, and Lumpy Space Princess instead makes her her second in command, essentially, her personal assistant, and puts her in charge of sound effects. Then Jake comes to visit his daughter in the city, and she kind of lies to him and tells him she got a big part in the play. Then it goes on to, a lot of this episode is very character driven. A lot of it's just driven by the interactions between Lumpy Space Princess and Viola. Pretty much what happens is Viola's an understudy in the play, putting together the special effects and all this stuff for that. Lumpy Space Princess just gives her all sorts of horrible grief throughout this entire episode over how the raindrops look in her special effects, even going so far as to lock Viola on the roof during a rainstorm for part of this. In fact, Lumpy Space Princess is pretty awful in this whole thing, but there's a point to that. It's funny, actually. Tree Trunks is given the lead role in the play, and then has to drop out at the 11th hour because Mr. Pig doesn't like the fact that there's a kissing scene inside of the inside of the play. Actually, his whole little freak out about that is kind of hilarious. Just this whole and a throwback to earlier Adventure Time seasons where there was a lot of emphasis on really bizarre facial structure, kind of the squash and stretch facial design, which I like. Anyways, there's a bit of dialogue between this. Watching through this episode, at first I watched it and I was like, well, Adventure Time is kind of cruel to many of their characters. I wasn't really sure I liked this episode. Then I thought about it, rewatched it a few times, and realized that Lumpy Space Princess didn't give Viola the main part because of out of any type of spite. Anyways, here's what happens. I'll get back to that in a little bit. We'll take that, put it over here for a little bit, and then we'll get back to there after this. Anyways, what happens is after Tree Trunks is unable to perform, Lumpy Space Princess is like, well, who else could do this? Who else has memorized all the lines? The answer, of course, would be Viola. But Lumpy Space Princess is like, well, myself! So she decides to do the lead role. This kind of bothers Viola, so Viola teleports Lumpy Space Princess to the Ice King's kingdom and then just takes the lead role in the play. Lumpy Space Princess is running on back to pretty much like, to get mad at her. Then notices and catches like the last parts of the play or so, last act of the play, and decides that Viola did an amazing job on the raindrops and that the acting was okay, but is still very pleased with it. Now, the reason for this, there's a part on the roof where Lumpy Space Princess is talking to Viola, and she reveals that, well, Lumpy Space Princess doesn't feel respected by anybody because she hasn't done anything to be respected. But what she does know, or rather her own personal, she wants the raindrops to be correct. And that's the important part in this. Lumpy Space Princess is incredibly insecure. I mean, she was homeless for so many seasons, so she knows what rain looks like. So the summer showers here, the whole raindrop aesthetic of this is actually the whole point of her play. She's trying to express a little bit of her own feelings into that play, despite the fact that it's all pretty much stuck into what's essentially a parody of Downton Abbey, or however you pronounce that. Anyways, she actually gave Viola the most important role, and Viola nailed that role because, well, Lumpy Space Princess would know what rain looks like. That to Lumpy Space Princess, the rain is the most important thing. So she's not actually dissing Viola throughout the entirety of this this episode, she's actually given her the most important part. And Lumpy Space Princess is an abusive character by nature, and that's kind of shown, but it's also shown that there's a little bit more to her than that. Just a little bit. Not too much under the surface, just a little bit. Also, this particular episode kind of deals with Jake trying to connect with one of his children, which he hasn't done enough of. In fact, there's a part there where he kind of comments in the diner talking to Viola that he is in fact a terrible father. He kind of messed up on everything, didn't spend much time with his children, wasn't there for them. And that's okay, because at the end of this one here, he does show his support for Viola by literally showing a lot of a big round of applause, which is a very sweet little moment between the two. And even though she was really the special effects person, both Lumpy Space Princess, who's been horribly abusive to Viola throughout this entire thing, kind of a the Devil Wears Prada type of thing. You have Jake, who also compliments her on her special effects, meaning that he's okay with the fact that she didn't have the lead role. Because what she did have the role in, she was the best at. It's kind of a little slice of life episode. I mean, we go from episodes where Finn is fighting giant monsters or whatnot. Oh, he's in this episode, but he doesn't really say anything. To episodes like this, which are all character driven. And I think it's a good episode. Most people consider it kind of weak, but there's a lot of subtext in here and some fairly humorous moments, like Mr. Pig's little freak out, the part with oh, I thought I locked the door, or the part with the little bit of a dialogue between the Ice King and Lumpy Space Princess is amusing, and just a few general issues. For example, all the actors in that particular play are awful. Tree Trunks is bad at this. So is Mr. Cinnamon Bun or Muffin or whatever his name is. The guy the muscular muffin thing that's voiced by D. Bradley Baker. Anywho, it's kind of nice to see more of Jake's children and seeing what they've become. They've already become way more mature and more developed emotionally than their father. And that's kind of a sad thing. Jake is kind of filled with a lot of regret over a lot of that in particular. Also, the fact that they age quicker and possibly may live longer, we don't know. We may approach a part where, what if one of his kids dies? I feel like we're being introduced more and more to the kids as we go along from this, because they may intend to do something with them in the future. Kind of like the episode that they had with Jake's brother, or some of the other episodes with his kids. There's a lot of potential drama in here. So I feel like these episodes are kind of peppering us up for that. Who knows? There's a huge marathon of these episodes next week. In fact, this week was all brand new Steven Universe episodes. Next week is all brand new Adventure Time episodes, and we'll cover each and every one of those while still going back. And what I think I'm going to do is doing like the marathons of episodes one right after another in order actually gets kind of irritating. So what I'm going to do is keep a little bit of a tally of which ones I've done, and then go back and do a lot of the more important ones, then go back and do the filler ones. So hey, if you like our reviews, if you like our videos, go ahead and hit like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and until the next video comes out, you are now caught up.